and right hemisphere, and what are they doing? How does it contribute towards your perception in this world? And this is what we're going to be talking about in today's video. We're going to be breaking down the two hemispheres of the brain and how they function in your life. So first, we have the left hemisphere. This is the logical hemisphere. This is the analytical, divided, scientific, or verbal hemisphere. The right hemisphere is creative, wholeness, artistic, symbolic, and metaphorical. The right hemisphere does with non-verbal things. It produces a holistic perception. It is more to do with creativity. Because what you must understand is that we are not in the external world. The world is produced by our brain. We see with our brain. Our eyes are a part of the brain. What we touch is the brain's interpretation of electrical signals on the nervous system. What we smell is the brain's interpretation of smell through the nose. What you taste is your brain's interpretation of chemical reactions on your is the brain. The brain is a computer creating a simulation. And you have two hemispheres which breaks down this reality. So essentially the brain is the perception creator. It creates perception. So if the brain is creating this, who is the one experiencing the brain? Well, that is you, the consciousness, the mind, the all-seeing eye. You are the all-seeing eye experiencing the brain, the observer behind the brain, behind reality, behind the emotions. So if you're walking through a woods, this left brain sees individual trees. The right brain sees the whole woods. It sees the biome. It sees the bigger picture. So when you are walking through this woods, the right brain picks up a holistic perception of reality. It creates the woods as one unified woods. The left brain's job is to break this down and analyze it so that we can see individual things. And this is also necessary for humans to have the ability to break things down and manipulate things in this world. So without this left hemisphere, we could not manipulate things and break things down. So this right hemisphere is important because it sees the whole woods. It sees humanity as one unified consciousness. However, the left hemisphere sees individual egos. So the left hemisphere is the place of the ego because it only understands it sees the world very divided. Okay, so for example, here's another example of the left and right hemisphere. If someone pulls out in front of you in traffic, your left brain's going to start going crazy and analyzing them, calling them names. The right hemisphere, however, sees the bigger picture. Maybe he didn't see you. Maybe it's just a mistake. Maybe he's in a rush. You see how the two brains are very different. They do the same thing, but they function in different ways. The right hemisphere is feminine, the left hemisphere is masculine. So, like I said, this person pulls out in front of you, you start to think with the left. If you start to perceive that in the left brain, you're going to start analyzing them, you're going to start going crazy and calling them names because you're analyzing it. You're not seeing the bigger picture behind it. You're not seeing it from his perspective. So there is a crossover. So the left hemisphere of the brain controls the right side of the body, the right ear, the right eye. Everything to do with the right side of the body is connected to the left hemisphere. And the right hemisphere controls everything on the left side of the body, including your eyes, your arms, your legs. So everything is crossed over, and even your visual field is crossed over. So this is your visual field, as you can see here, and even the left side of your visual field goes to the right brain. There's a crossover. No one really knows. There's not really a reason for this. However, this is how the human body is designed. As we all know, the human body is the most advanced piece of technology on the face of the earth. They cannot replicate the human body. And they tell you it has no creator. This is crazy. People are that brainwashed, they can't even understand that their body is the most advanced piece of technology. Your body is so advanced The computers that you use are mimicked of the body. Everything they create is mimicking nature, but they don't show you how intelligent nature is because they don't want you to understand you're in an intelligent design. So anyways, let's get back on track. There is a crossover in the brain, and this is why they teach you to write with your right hand. And I was speaking to someone who's in a nunnery, or whatever you want to call it. They were a nun, or they knew someone who was who was a nun, and they forced these people, these nuns, to write with their right hand. You had to write with your right hand. This is why, I'd say at least 70% of the world, or 80%, is right-handed and right-legged, because they taught us this to activate the left hemisphere more, because of this crossover that happens in the body. So when we are using this right side more, we are using that left hemisphere more. Why? Why are they doing this? Well, they also called it writing. Writing is a spell, to cast a spell on you, to use that right side of the body so that you use this left hemisphere, because they want you to see the world as a divided perception. They don't want you using the right hemisphere, using that left side of the body to activate the right hemisphere to see the bigger picture and see how everything is all one and everything is created. This left hemisphere domination keeps you from seeing the connections between everything, because that left hemisphere analyzes, it breaks things down. So when we are left hemisphere dominated by using the right side of the body, we are essentially seeing everything as divided. And this is why so many people will not understand my work, because my work connects dots and connects fields of knowledge, and makes you see the bigger picture. So people who are left hemisphere dominated will see my work and think this guy's crazy. But it's all about activating that right hemisphere. So they called it writing, because every word you say is molding your mind in some sort of way. The things you see is molding your mind. Everything you take in through the five senses is molding your mind. And language is a massive spell, especially the English language. They called it writing, so that you use that right side. It's a spell, because your subconscious mind picks up everything you say. And 90% of your daily basis behavior and thought patterns is produced by these subconscious programs within the subconscious mind. Essentially, your conscious mind is only the 10% of you. The conscious mind is just what you're aware of, what you're wearing, how you're feeling, what you're thinking. That's your conscious mind. The subconscious mind is controlling every system in your body. It's telling your heart to beat without you being conscious of it. So essentially, this is what they're programming. They're programming this system in the back of the mind, which is controlling everything through the words. And this is what spells are, because it's all about creating perception in the subconscious. So they want you to use that right side more. I truly believe the ancients, they were balanced. They used the left and the right side of the body. They didn't have a stronger side because they understood this science of the body and how the body works. So this is actually called phonetics. It's not etymology. Etymology is the study of root words. Phonetics is the study of how words sound similar. The way words are spoken. So phonetics, phone, is why we call them a phone, because you speak into a phone. So this is write and writing, to use that right side to activate the left hemisphere more. So your hands are a manifestation of your brain. The left hand is the right brain, the right hand is the left brain. And as a child, we were always taught that when you place your hands together like this is the size of your brain, which is true, because your hands are a part of your brain. They're an extension of your brain. Every part of your body other than your brain is an extension of the brain. Everything's working and feeding back information to the brain because you're experiencing the brain. So another trick that you can do, or another exercise, is looking in the mirror and closing one eye at a time. If you close your right eye, if you take your top off, for example, you'll analyze your body if you close your right eye, because you're using that left hemisphere. Sorry, other way around. If you look at yourself through your right eye, you'll use that left hemisphere, which will analyze yourself. You'll see individual body parts. If you close the right eye and use the left eye, you'll see your body as a whole, and you won't really analyze it. This is how you can analyze yourself using these two hemispheres. So this whole system is created to keep you thinking logically and to restrict you from creating and restrict you from understanding symbolism, allegories, metaphors, and teamwork. They want you stuck in a logical way of thinking and a logical way of seeing the world. This is why when you go to school, you are told exactly what to do. You're told to think this way and no other way. You're told to do orders, do this. It's a very left-brained system, because if we all started to open up this right hemisphere, we'd all see, wow, everything is all one, everything is all connected. And this is what my work is doing. I'm showing you everything is one. The physical world is an illusion of duality, but everything comes from the one source, the one mind. The universe is a giant mind. I am mind, you express mind. We all possess mind. Behind the physical body is the same mind consciousness. And we are all expressions and fractals of this infinite consciousness called mind. And this is what they don't want us to figure out, is that we are all just one consciousness expressed. It's an infinite consciousness. It's even in the squirrel, it's in the dog. All of these different animals, they're just different bodies, but behind the bodies is the same consciousness, which is mind. That's what the pineal gland is. The pineal gland is not the mind, and it's not the third eye. The third eye is your mind. If you have a closed third eye, it just means you have a closed mind. If you have an open third eye, it just means your mind has expanded from beyond physical things through astral projection and mystical experiences. This is how you gain an open third eye. It's just an open mind. A mind that has astral travel, that has explored the realities within the mind. So everything they do is to keep us in a divided state. Divide and conquer, right? That's their motto. All to keep you thinking how everything is divided. Everything they've done is division. Postcodes, countries, everything is divided. Like football teams and all this stuff. It's also a natural process when you grow up, because as you grow up, your brain is constantly analyzing the world. So this is sort of a natural process of how you become more left hemisphere dominated, because your brain is always analyzing. And unless something awakens you, you can awaken that right hemisphere where you can start to see the bigger picture. Even the music, it's all tuned to 440 hertz, shuts down the right hemisphere of the brain. 440 hertz, Spotify, Apple Music, the radio, every time you turn on the radio, it's tuned to 440 hertz. This was specifically tuned. It never used to be tuned to this. It was in the 1950s. It was changed. The standard music tuning was changed to 440 hertz because it shuts down that right hemisphere of the brain. They don't want you thinking, seeing the world in this way and perceiving things as one. I'm going to show you. It tells you this in the Bible. Cast the net onto the right-hand side of the boat and you will find the fish. What was Jesus saying? You see, people read the Bible and they don't understand it. If the Bible is not talking about you, then it has no meaning. The Bible, everything you read in the Bible is about you and how it can better your life. It occurs to you. So if Jesus says, cast the net onto the right-hand side of the boat, this is an allegory. The boat is your body. Cast the net, it's the awareness, the perception, onto the right hemisphere of the brain, and you will find the fish. What's fish? What do fish do? They swim deep in the ocean. It represents the knowledge. Deep knowledge. Cast the net onto the right-hand side of the boat and you will find fish. You will find the wisdom. You'll gain understanding when you cast that your awareness into that right hemisphere. You will see that I am you and you are me. We are all one consciousness. You will see everything. You'll see that the trees are the same patterns as the nerves in your body. You'll see everything is connected. Everything is a fractal of the one infinite consciousness. And how many fish did they catch? 153. That adds up to 9. This is now numerology. The Bible's filled with numerology. adds up to 9. What's 9? Human consciousness. It represents consciousness. You're in the womb for 9 months. Feminine. It's all about consciousness. And in Revelation 14, and I looked, and behold, the Lamb standing on Mount Zion, that's the spines, the mountain, with him 144,000. 144 adds up to 9. It represents consciousness on top of the spine. You see? And he had his name the name of his Father written on the forehead. What's the Father? The higher mind, the higher consciousness within you. Where is that? In the forehead, the pineal gland. The pineal gland is the radio receiver for the higher consciousness. Because every body part of the body has consciousness. Your heart has consciousness. Your gut has consciousness. You are thinking with these different consciousnesses. You think with the gut. You think with your penis. You are thinking with all these consciousness. And it's about raising your consciousness to the higher consciousness, which is the Father, the mind, in the head. Don't think with the lower parts of the body, because that is your animal nature. Think with the higher parts of the body. It's all representing consciousness. How to activate the right hemisphere of the brain? Well, it's all to do with non-verbal things. So music will activate the right hemisphere. Make sure it's tuned to the right frequency though. 432 hertz, 528 hertz. Any frequency that adds up to 3, 6, or 9 is good for you. Meditation, turning off the thoughts, and you raise yourself to the higher brain. Symbolism. Symbolism is all right hemisphered. Reading between lines, metaphors, determining the Bible. It's all right hemisphered. Seeing the bigger picture. It's reading between the lines. So tithing in the Bible. These people in the churches are giving 10% of their money to the church. It's nothing but a scam. What these people have done is they have externalized the Bible. They have taken the Bible and literalized it so that they can make a business out of it. So what they're doing is 1/10 of the produce of what it says in the Bible, 1/10 of the produce of the land, whether grain or fruit, is the Lord's and is holy. So what's that saying? The 10th of, it's basically saying give the 10% to the Lord, to God. What does that mean? Well, what's the land and the fruit? This represents physical things, the physical things that you have. The 10th of the physical things that you have. What's that? That's your ego. All the physical things that you have is all to do with your ego. That's the lower self. The ego, what is the ego? It's the mind's perception of the physical self. You had no ego when you were a child. Okay, when you were a child, you had no ego. As you grew older, you created the ego. But the ego is the full self. It's the echo. Ego, echo. It's the echo of the full self. So it's saying give the ego over. Take away the animal self. In that left hemisphere, that's all to do with the left hemisphere. That left hemisphere sees the ego. It sees individuality. It's divided. So it's saying give that 10%. Give that 10% of you over to the right hemisphere. The 90%. The 90% of you is in that right hemisphere. The higher self. Now, I'm not saying the left hemisphere is bad. Okay, I'm not saying that at all. But it sees things divided. It's like I said, the left, the hands are manifestations of the brain. So when these Christians are praying, they're putting their hands together. What are they doing? They're syncing the brain hemisphere is what you're doing, because everything's an extension of your brain. So if you put your hands together, you're putting the two hemispheres together. And what's happening when you place the hands together? All the electricity in the body is now running in a circuit. So once you connect these two hands, the electrical energy is now running in a circuit. And energy can move around the body quicker and more efficiently. So when you pray, when these people are praying, they don't realize that they're engaging in ancient forms of meditation, of balancing the two hemispheres. So now we're talking about balancing the hemispheres, not the right hemisphere. This is what Israel is. Look at the symbol for Israel, the up triangle and the downward triangle. What's that? The up triangle represents male. The downward triangle represents female. Okay? This is talking about the brains. Israel is Ra. Isis, which is female, the Egyptian god. Ra, El. El means God. Electricity. That's the force of the physical world. It's the force that runs this world, electricity. It's the force of God. El, consciousness. It means God. Is, Ra, El. Isis, Ra, and El. It's the two hemispheres of the brain, the holy land of Israel. It's the holy land, it's the brain. Once these two hemispheres are synced, this is how you unlock your consciousness. This is the easiest way of astral projecting. Hemisphering, I forgot the word for it. Hemisphere syncretization, something like that. It's about syncing the hemispheres. This is how you unlock your consciousness. Once the brain is running as one electrical system, this is how you balance the two masculine and male opposing energies. Once these opposing energies are no longer in war with each other, the brain, they come together to work as one. You unlock your consciousness. You are born again. What happens when a male and female have sex? It creates a new child. It becomes one. You are born again. Once the two hemispheres of the brain, you are born again. You can then have an out-of-body experiences. So this is why the symbol of the Holy Land, Israel, is the up and down triangle back combined together, because it represents unification of the male and female, unification of the hemispheres. You're born again. You unlock consciousness. And you can get this for free. It's called the Gateway Tapes on my website. Basically, it's a audio track from the government, and they did this in the Gateway Experience. It's a CIA document, and what they do is there are different forms of meditations you go through. I think there's about 5 waves of meditations you do, half an hour each one, and it will teach you. It will sync your hemisphere, because what does it do? They understood that playing one frequency into one ear and another frequency into the other. They understood that the right ear is connected to the left hemisphere, the left ear is connected to the right hemisphere. So when you play 2 different frequencies into both ears, what happens? The brain picks this up, the 2 hemispheres of the brain picks this up, and it syncs it. It syncs these 2 hemispheres, these 2 frequencies together. So now the brain is working as one to sync this frequency. So this is how you can sync your hemispheres, through listening to these frequencies. Okay, you can get them for free and do the meditations yourself. This will definitely help you. This is an easy way to astral project. So it's all about syncing the hemisphere and seeing reality from a unified perception. We should all aim to get out of that left hemisphere. I'm not saying don't use it, but we should now start to read between the lines of the Bible, read between the lines of the symbolism they're showing. Study symbolism, study allegories and myths. What are they trying to tell us through these allegories? And, this is how we start seeing things in a better way. Once we understand that we are all microcosms of an infinite consciousness, we can all come to one, because love is the unifying force of this infinite consciousness. We are all divided. We are all disconnected from our hearts. Once we all connect with our hearts and see that everything is one, we can all start to love and come together as one. Because love is the unifying force of consciousness. So, if you haven't already seen, I now have launched the Ethereal University. I will be doing lectures like this one, but even better, deeper, and even releasing knowledge that I can't talk about online, as they are censored. I'll be doing lectures every single week. I'll be doing live calls every single week. You also gain access to my library, which is filled with over 45 occult books, filled with knowledge. Okay, I'll show you now. Plus, you get my book, The Book of Wisdom, PDF form, and the Human Health Guide, PDF form. You also get all of this stuff, the health section, Q&As, Ethereal meditations. We've got some celestial studies, cosmology, and numerology coming soon. You also get the brand new Manifestation Mastery course, plus the library. And there'll be new books, new lectures, new live calls every single week. Or you can get the Book of Wisdom, use the code WISDOM in all capital letters to gain 40% off. This sale will be ending very, very soon, so if you're watching this, be very quick to get yourself a physical version or a PDF of my book. You can get it in all these languages. Hope you enjoyed this video, people. I'll see you inside the Ethereal University, the real university. Have an amazing day. Neo is plugged in on the back of the neck, which is the reptilian brainstem. The reptilian brain is all to do with survival mode, survival state. It's always scanning the environment for safety, whether that's physically, emotionally, or mentally. It does not think. It is instant. For example, do I smack the guy or run off? If something happens to you, like a car's coming really quick to you, you do not think about this. The reptilian brain is the animal instinct that will instantly move your body and the instant reactions. Hence why it's the closest brain to the rest of the body. It has instant access to the electrical nervous system to control the body at instant reactions. Now, Neo is plugged in on the back of the neck, which is the reptilian brain. Therefore, the matrix is the body itself. It is the lowest state of consciousness. This is what it represents. The word matrix means womb. It translates to womb because your body is a womb. Your body is a vessel for universal consciousness, for God consciousness. And the body is also a womb where you can be born again outside of this body by raising your consciousness, by awakening the neocortex. This is why Neo is called Neo, because it represents the neocortex. This is the higher aspect of our brain. This is all to do with new things, higher reasoning, higher thinking, new learning. You see, the brain is a receiver for universal consciousness. And what do I mean? It is a radio receiver. Think of it like this. You have a radio tower which emits frequencies. And each little frequency, 00.1, 00.2, 00.3, each 00 point is a different person. We are all the same universal consciousness, encapsulated inside of a different vessel. This is why our body is the temple of God inside of the Bible. Your body is a sacred temple of the divine essence of the universe. However, consciousness is controlling this physical body. And I'll show you this diagram here. Consciousness consists of imagination, emotions, thought, and memory. All of these things are not physical. They're not made out of atoms. You cannot think with atoms. If I split open your brain while you are thinking of a cheesecake, I would not see a cheesecake. It's because these things exist metaphysically within consciousness. They are not physical. The body is physical. It's part of matter. It's part of time. You see the Leonardo da Vinci, the circle and the square. The square represents limitation, beginning and end. Because when you draw a square, there is a beginning and end. It represents the body, the mortal self, the ego, the echo. Then you have the spirit raised above, which represents spirit over matter, mind over matter. Invisible forces create physical forces. Everything physical exists in non-physical. This is also the Freemasonic square and compass, why the square is below the compass, because the compass creates the circle, which is spirit or mind. Then you have the square, which is matter. Mind and matter are the same substance. Mind creates matter through thought. Everything in this physical universe manifested through thought. Everything began as thought. So you are spirit and matter. You have a material body and a spiritual body. And you are right in the middle. This is why humans are very, very important. Because we have an animal nature, the reptilian brain, and a higher consciousness, the neocortex. And we must awaken out of the matrix, which means womb, which is the body. And Neo is waken up from the lower self, the reptilian brain, and moves into the neocortex. Because the brain is a radio receiver for consciousness. Now, what do I mean? I went over this before. Your consciousness is controlling the brain. The brain is a computer. And when our consciousness, our imagination, our emotion, our thoughts, and our memories are all contributing towards just survival things, food, safety, fear, all of these things, and our consciousness is locked into a survival state, we are using the reptilian brain. We're no longer thinking. You don't think with the brain, but the consciousness is thinking, which activates the different parts of the brain. When we think for higher reasoning, we use the neocortex. It stimulates the neocortex. When we think about survival, we're using the reptilian brain. So therefore, when Neo wakes up, he wakes up to the higher aspects of consciousness, which is only utilized by the neocortex, by learning new things, and expansion of the mind and expansions of consciousness. Okay? So the whole matrix is to keep you designed, well, the whole matrix is designed to keep you in a survival state, in the three-dimensional awareness. They want you constantly scanning for safety, scanning for food, scanning for emotional safety in relationships, in other people. You see, they do not want you to think. They want you stuck in that reptile, that animal state, that beastly state that most people are in. Most people, all they do is eat, listen to music, consume, have sex, lust, desire. This is all the reptilian brain. So when we say the world's being ran by reptilians, it's symbolic. There is no physical reptilian humanoid beings controlling, manipulating human consciousness. We are all the same consciousness. However, there is a corrupted state of consciousness running this world. And this consciousness worships the physical plane. And they control the physical plane. So by doing that, they keep you stuck in a reptilian way of thinking, the animal state, to keep you stuck in the lowest state of consciousness. Now this is the god Osiris, which represents the reptilian brain. None of the Egyptian gods ever existed. They are all symbolic for the brain and anatomy of the human body. Osiris represents the reptilian brain. As you can see, this anatomy compare to the brain stem and Osiris statue found in Egypt. And we also see an ancient artwork of Osiris with green skin and two reptile crocodile alligators next to him, which also symbolizes the reptilian survival state of human consciousness and the activation of the reptilian brain. This is what it symbolizes. Now, this is what the Matrix is all talking about. It's talking about the awakening, the expansion of consciousness. The word divine is dive in because you connect with the divine by diving inward. There is no man in the sky going to save you. You must connect with the self. Know thyself. Truth comes from within. All of these things I'm telling you comes from within you. I'm just pointing it out. All of this is self-realization. A lot of people say, well, what are my sources? My sources is knowing thyself, observing thyself, using the neocortex of critically thinking, sitting down and thinking about yourself and having deep realization of yourself. You can realize that your thoughts are not of this physical world. It's quite simple. The brain does not think. The brain does not imagine. The brain does not hold memory. All of these things exist in consciousness, the one consciousness, but we are all fractal, infinite parts of. This is the eye on the triangle, consciousness being given down to the rest. This is separate, Consciousness is separate from the rest of the pyramid. The pyramid is your body. Neo is the one consciousness. This is the Egyptians symbolizing the one consciousness giving Ankh, which is life, to all the different life forms. However, you can see that the central sphere is giving a big Ankh to the humans, because humans, like I said, possess the advanced consciousness, an advanced brain that allows us to turn above our reptilian animal self. For example, we can go against our reptilian lower animal nature and turn to our godly nature. Animals cannot do that. They are stuck in instinct. They are stuck in a reptilian animal way of thinking and operating. Everything they create is to survive. We can turn against our lower nature and create for amazing things like buildings, architecture, technology. We can use our creative consciousness for anything we wish, not just survival needs. And it's the same with your spiritual journey. You can raise your consciousness beyond this animal state that they try to keep you in through fear, consumption, food, and the reptilian brain. We must awaken, start to think critically, and awaken to our divinity. Because the mind, the consciousness within you has infinite potential to expand. There are infinite fields of knowledge that you can explore. The mind can never be filled. It can never ever be full of knowledge. It always expands, and that's why you are alive. That's why you are part of this universe. That's why the science always says the universe is always expanding, because the universe exists in your mind, and the mind is always expanding into new fields of thought, new fields of knowledge and information. And that is your whole sole purpose, of expansion of mind and expansion of consciousness, and the exploration of the mind of God. We are living in the mind of God. You are a thought in the mind of God. You must awaken out of this body. This is why Jesus says you must be born again to see the kingdom of God. You must be born again. You must raise your consciousness beyond physical limitation and awaken to your divinity. And this is pretty much it for this video. I hope you all understand this, that this is all symbolic for consciousness.
Welcome to Revival of Wisdom.
Welcome people, we're back with another video, and this video is about Freemasonry and their connection to the Illuminati. Please, as always, to make sure to hit that like and the subscribe button and turn on the notifications to never miss a video. On May the 1st, 1776, the founder of the Illuminati, Adam Weishaupt, founded this secret organization, and this date can be found in Roman numerals underneath the all-seeing eye pyramid on the $1 bill. This $1 bill also says Anut Coptus Novus Ordo Secularum. This is Latin